My name's Plaut, and I'm the president of the local, which Joe just mentioned. It was a pleasure for us to have a chance to come down and meet all of you, and we really appreciate the invitation. And we're really hoping that we can work together because we think in the long run it's going to benefit everybody. None of us are real polished and professional speakers, but I brought a couple of our other stewards and officers down here also to talk a little bit about the union and the company and what it is that we're trying to do. We just want to be kind of informal today, just interrupt or ask questions whenever you have something that you want to say. It may be easier than trying to save them up till the end. We had a chance last night to meet some of the folks from second shift, and they're filling us in a little bit on the problems that you have. We still have our share of problems too, believe me, and we're hoping that by talking to one another, we'll be able to deal some of these problems so they can't play one of us off against the other. I've been interested in trying to see a union here in Meridian for a long time. In 1981, I met a man named Colonel Hobbs, who's an organizer for International, who I think is going to be coming down here next week, and you'll meet him. And he gave me the names of a few people that are in the GCIU local here in Meridian in a small print shop. And I was going to be driving across country, and I asked him if he'd try to set up a meeting with some of you folks from the national plant. So I came to Meridian Thanksgiving Day, 1981. And they told me, well, everybody's afraid. They're afraid that if they meet you and the company finds out about it, that's going to cost them their jobs. So I was actually in Meridian about 5 years ago, and but I didn't have a chance to meet you then. I've been involved with the union for about 12 years myself. First as kind of an outsider looking in, and later as a steward and an officer. And I've learned kind of the hard way that you have to be real patient. These things are a long, hard struggle. And there's things you want them, and you want them right now, and you know what's fair, and you know you deserve them, but just wishing and hoping really isn't enough. It takes a lot more than that. And so I'm kind of a fighter, and I'm also a patient person. And here it is 5 years later, and finally making a start on something that we wanted to do quite a long time ago. I want to be up front with you. I think that if I were in your shoes, I'd be a little suspicious. I'd say, why should these people in Holyoke come all the way down to Mississippi? You know, why are they concerned about whether we have a union or not? There must be something in it for them. You know, they're not just coming here out of the goodness of their hearts. And that's true. You know, I think that in the short run, it's going to help all of you if you get a union. I think you'll be better off, and we'll talk later about what I think are some of the advantages. But I think in the long run, you're going to be helping us an awful lot too. You know, the company's always trying to use the old divide and conquer strategy. And they try to tell us, well, those people in Meridian make less money than you do, so we'll just take your work and we'll send it down there. And we think that sometimes they're going to turn around and they're going to say to you, well, those people up in Holyoke can do all the work that you're doing down in Meridian, so we don't really need you people down in Meridian. And they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. And I think that if we're talking to each other, worker to worker, then we're going to be able to avoid some of that double talk, and we're going to be able to help each other out. Right now, I think we're kind of lucky. I think it's a good time for us to be trying to put together a union down here because the business is booming. I know I talk to people here, you're on overtime, working Saturdays and Sundays. Work is really booming in Holyoke right now, too. They just picked up that Mead contract to make the spiral notebooks for the college work. John works in the heat seal department, and they've been working overtime steadily right along. And so it's not like 1981 when there was that big recession. Right now the business is booming, and I think it's a good time for us to be trying to push forward and move ahead. You may have seen, if you read the papers or the national news, there's this Hormel meat packers strike going on up in Minnesota. And I think that some of the tactics that the company tried to pull on those workers are the same sort of thing that they're going to try to pull on us. They go to they have several meat packing plants, and they all do the same kind of work. And they go to one group of meat packers, and they say, we're going to close this plant if you don't take $1 an hour wage cut. The workers get scared, and they want their jobs, so they take the $1 an hour wage cut. Well, then they go to the people at the other plant and say, well, they took $1 an hour wage cut over here. If you don't take a $2 an hour wage cut, we're going to close you down. And I think that there's a real chance they're going to try to do the same sort of thing with us, which is another reason I think that we should try to stick together. I think in general, people do what's in their own self-interest. People look out for themselves, and people look out for their families. And I hope that's what you're trying to do by forming a union. And that's what we're trying to do by making our union stronger, and also by trying to help you. I got interested in unions, and I got involved because of self-interest. I was running a hand-fed stamping press. We were making those little tiny date books and telephone books and things like that, and they were like 6 on a big long strip. And it was a stamping press. It was a hand-fed, and I had to stick just a little spine, about an inch of the book, into this hand-fed stamping press. I just hold it with my fingertips and put it in the press like this. And the machine had no guards at all. And every 2 seconds, automatically, that press was closing and open and closing and open. I had to pick one up, put it in, pull it out, pick the next one up, drop that one down, and get the next one in every 2 seconds. Well, it was a hot, muggy day, and that strip of tape that runs along the spine was all covered with white glue and cement. So when the press came together, instead of the book just coming loose and be able to pull it right out, it was getting stuck in the press. And it was actually hanging there and slipping right in the press. And I was actually putting my whole hand right in that press to try to yank the book out before the press closed it. And finally I said, this is crazy. I mean, for $4 or $5 an hour, I'm going to lose my fingers, the National Blank Book? No way. So I started talking to the other 2 people that ran the stamping press, and we complained about it and went to the company, and they didn't do too much. We kept complaining, so they sent over the plant engineer. And I was talking to the old timers, and they said, somebody lost 9 fingers one time on that stamping press before. So the engineer comes over, and I said, I think this machine needs a guard. He said, what are you worried about? It's safe. And I said, well, I heard a worker lost 9 fingers in that press. And the engineer says to me, well, he was kind of lucky, wasn't he? I said, how do you figure that? He says, well, he's still got one left, doesn't he? It was that kind of attitude that really shook people up. So we kept complaining, and they didn't do anything. They didn't put the guards on. The day before Thanksgiving, 1974, one lost 6 fingers. Well, sure enough, they came rushed right out, and all the engineers, and they put a guard on the machine. Well, the next few years, 6 more people lost fingers in stamping presses. And so I really first got interested in union just because of safety. I wanted to protect my own fingers and then protecting other people's fingers. And eventually, we got all those machines guarded and all of them protected. But it was a long, hard fight. Unions can be a good thing, but sometimes unions get kind of fat and lazy, and they don't do their job either. Just because you got a union, that doesn't mean you're halfway to heaven and your problems are solved. I mean, there's a cliche, you're going to hear lots of unionists only as strong as the members. Well, when I started working there, our union, people were kind of taking it for granted, and the members were just figuring, we got the president, and he'll take care of everything, and they weren't too involved. So I stood at the union meeting and I said, I think the union should form a health and safety committee to get these machines guarded and to protect people. So the president said, well, we already have a health and safety committee. It just doesn't have any members. Well, what kind of a committee is that? So eventually we started a committee. We got it going, and Diane's going to talk a little bit more about that. We also shot a little video interviewing some of our members yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and they're going to be talking a little bit more about health and safety too. Another thing I want to mention is before the 3 of us even came down here, it cost us quite a bit of time and money to come down here. And we try to run a democratic union. Decisions are made by a vote. So I had to go before our executive board, which is an elected group of about 15 people, and say, I think that we should spend the money to take the 3 of us and get our plane tickets and our motel and our rent-a-car and our meals and pay for John and Diane's lost time and everything. Go down to Mississippi and talk to these people and see what we can do to help them out and kind of spread the word. And people say, well, that's a lot of money, and we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. Finally, people voted to spend that money. We don't have a whole lot of money in our treasury, so to take that money and come down here, to see you was just a measure, I think, of the commitment that people have up there to trying to help you out. In fact, we don't just represent National Blank Book, we have a couple other shops, and even those people voted to spend the money to send us down here to meet with you because they felt that strongly about it. The last few years before I was president, our local co-sponsored a picnic in the summertime with the company. And the union put up a lot of money. And one year we put up $4,000 to co-sponsor this picnic. Well, the year before this, a year ago in the summertime, we were going to co-sponsor the picnic with the company. And right around then we had a big fight because a bunch of our old-timers that got hurt on the job and they went out on workers' comp. And our contract says while you're out on workers' comp, the company will keep paying your medical insurance, your Blue Cross or your Aetna or whatever you got. And all of a sudden they started trying to kick these people off the medical insurance. People with 25-year seniority got hurt on the job, no fault of their own. Companies trying to take away their medical insurance. So we went back, we called a special union meeting and said, look, we're going to cancel our $4,000 for that picnic, and we're going to use that money to hire a lawyer, to go to arbitration, and do whatever we have to do to make sure that these old-timers don't lose their medical insurance. So we canceled the picnic, and we ended up fighting for these people, and we were able to win that case. And those people were still getting their insurance. So this year, the same thing came up. They said, well, let's spend $4,000 this year in co-sponsoring picnic. And there was quite a debate at the union meeting. People saying, we want to do something for our members and the families, and it'll be fun to have a picnic. And other people argue, look, the union's not a social club. If you join the Kiwanis or the Lions or the VFW, if you want a social club, the purpose of the union is to defend the members. And We don't have that much money. Let's use that money to help our people and to enforce the contract. And it was quite a discussion, but in the end we took a vote. People voted not to spend the money on a picnic. They said, let's use that money for more important things. So some of the money that's paying for our trip to come here and be with you today is money that we could have been spending on beer and burgers and good times. So we felt it's more important to be here with you. Another thing that I want to share with you is that I think the company's scared. I think that they're real upset to know that you're trying to form a union down here. And there's a few ways I know of that. One is there's a woman who some of you may have met named Linda Swanson, who's the personnel manager. We sometimes call her the blonde bomber. And we have a number of hot issues and problems and grievances that are going right now. I had meetings scheduled with her yesterday, today, tomorrow, and several next week. She called me up last Friday from Mississippi and said, I got to cancel all those meetings. She didn't say she's from Mississippi, but I found that out from somebody else. And she was supposed to come down here for 2 or 3 days. So then I got another call saying, she's canceling everything. She's staying down here. So I think that they're very concerned. And they got Joe Picarillo, who's the Vice President for Manufacturing, came down here. Rocky LaRoche, who's head of their Printed Products Division, came down here. Mulan Kazi, who's head of their Metals Division, came down here. These people are real busy trying to just keep the plant going up in Holyoke, and they don't just drop everything for no good reason. Those people are down here because they're concerned. One of the ladies here was just telling me, we were hearing last night how you're having a problem not getting your overtime on Saturdays or double time on Sundays, and now all of a sudden they're changing their tune, saying after 8 hours they're going to give you what you deserve. But they don't do those things out of the goodness of their heart, you know. They do those things because they're worried and because they want to try to respond to the fear of getting a union in here. Another thing the company likes to do is to try to say to you that we're really concerned about you. We want to listen to your ideas. We want your input. We really want to know what you think. And there's a whole wave sweeping the country. This isn't just National Blank Book. They call them employee involvement, or they call them quality of work life, or National Blank Book, they call them quality circles. You got these quality circles down here? Okay. Well, you know, the company keeps trying to get the union to join in on this quality circles thing, and we've resisted it. And Ron Feinstein, the president of the company, when I got elected and took office, he called me in, sat down in his plush office, and, you know, telling me how impressed he was with me, and, you know, what an intelligent young man I was, and how obviously if I was so concerned about the members, I was going to want to get behind this quality circle program. Wasn't that right? I just looked him around the eye and I just said, well, Ron, I'll tell you, I agree with you. I think our workers have a lot of good ideas. I think they got a lot to contribute. And in fact, the people running those machines probably know the job better than anybody else. And I said, and so I understand why you want to sit down with my members and talk to them and get their ideas. And I said, and if the union or the workers owned this factory, I'd be the first one going around trying to start quality circles, because I think that if you use my members' good ideas, you probably could make this place better. But I said, we go in there now with these quality circles, and it's not a 50-50 relationship. It's you take our ideas, the ones that are going to help you run faster, with fewer people, and make more money, and you take those ideas. And then we bring up our ideas about how to make it safer, and cleaner, and more pleasant, and get the foreman to treat you better, and you discard those ideas. So I said, we got no power. I said, this isn't an equal type relationship where we go in and we share our ideas with you, and we have an equal power. So you just use the suggestions that you want to use, and the rest of them you throw away. So it says when we have our share of the power, when we own it, that's when we're going to get involved in these quality circles. We've got a warehouse. I guess you got a warehouse down here. We were just overseeing the building. We've got a warehouse, and they kept changing the people's hours. One, they wanted to start at 8 in the morning, and they wanted to start at 6 in the morning, and they wanted to work a split shift, and they were playing havoc with these people's lives, with babysitting and family and all the rest. So they started a quality circle in the warehouse. And they sat down, and they said, okay, you know, they trained them on how to brainstorm and how to share ideas and how to have leadership. And they went through all the training process. And said, okay, today's the first session, and we're going to start brainstorming. What are you concerned about? What do you want to talk about? We want to talk about our hours. We're not happy starting at 8 in the morning. We want to start at 7 in the morning like we always did. They said, well, we're not here to talk about that. So they said, well, we've been having a lot of trouble because you won't fix the brakes on the power trucks, you know. And they said, well, we're not here to talk about that. Well, everything they brought up, they weren't here to talk about, you know. So eventually those people just said, hey, this is a joke. And that was kind of the end of the quality circle in that particular department. There are still a lot of departments that still have them. But it'd be interesting sometime later. I'd like to hear more about how your quality circles are going down here. we feel like a lot of health and safety things get brought up in those quality circles, and they get the runaround. Well, we also have a union health and safety committee that meets with management, and we just go to come and say, this, and this are illegal, and we want you to fix it, and we'll give you this much time to fix it, and if you don't fix it, then we're going to go to the state, or we're going to go to the federal government, to OSHA, or we're going to call up your workers' comp carrier. And we'll give you a chance, we'll work with you, we'll give you a chance to fix it, we'll give you a reasonable amount of time, but we're going to tell you up front you don't fix it, and we're going to go elsewhere. Whereas quality circles, you kind of go in there and say, well, wouldn't you please think about doing that? I have a few more things I'd like to say, but I'm going to save them. I want you to meet some of our other folks and hear what they have to say. So first I'm going to introduce John Washington, who's a steward, and John works in the heat seal department. It's all yours, John. Thank you.
John, before you get started, can I cut in? Does anybody have a problem if we film you a little bit? Now, this film that we're making is going to be taken back to the local union for the members, for them to see only. It'll never be seen by the employer. Anybody have a problem with that? We're not going to do a lot of you. If somebody gets up and asks a question, we'd like to be able to film you a little bit and film your question. Everybody feel pretty comfortable with that? You know, don't be afraid to say, because I understand.
You'll see, we made a little video. We just interviewed some of our workers, because, I can talk here all day, but I think it's better if you hear what the workers say there. And the same thing, when I go back there, I don't just want to say the people in Mississippi said this and they said that. I'd like to have them see some of you face to face. Maybe afterwards we can talk to one-on-one a little bit too.
Yeah. Okay. Here, go ahead, John.
All right. My name is John Washington. I'm a steward in Holyoke. I'm working there 6 years. I know everybody do well. First of all, I got to get something off my chest. I came down here, I talked to Buddha, I talked to Cedric, to Lee, Tony, and a lot of things messed me up. I'm just off. You guys are being treated unfairly, no matter what. There's no excuse for it. I don't see no excuse for it. I don't see how glad to see standing up. Something gets started, not just in the union, but everywhere around here. From what I hear, it's bad. I mean, they're getting away from lockdown. I'll go back to business. Stewart, handle grievance. You got 5 steps. Something goes wrong with the a union member in the company, management. First thing they do is come to the steward. The company don't like that at all. I'm one of the stewards. I got several more up there in Holyoke. Right? They do not like that. First of all, get in there, you get all kinds of nasty talk, whatever. But look right through that. Anyways, handle it. 5 steps. First step, you go from me, grievance, foreman, or assistant foreman. Then you can't get no satisfaction there. The thing you do is try to solve it right there. You don't want to have to do first of all. Try to compromise a little bit. Talk to them, right? But sometimes they don't want to listen. Get that way. Yeah, they're all the time. Anyway, look at it this way. My part is I defend you no matter what, right? Get your chance. Get your day in court. I don't think you have a grievance. I'll tell you. I think it's a weak situation, right? You're not going to make it. If you want to take it on, do it. Fine, I'll back you all the way. Doesn't matter. I'm fighting for them, right? That's the way they feel. Fine. Let's get past me, right? Hand up to the general foreman and the grievance. Get past them. You got to go another step to the Linda Swanson, the blonde. Yeah, I know you all just talking about him. And Warren. Yeah. Get past them, you still got an arbitrator. right? You know, we fight for you. That's it. We're going to fight for you. Right? Then you got, you can't lose. That's the thing. You can't lose because things do happen. So it's unlikely if you have somebody backing you up, if you're in the right, you're going to get over. Now, that has to do with the grievance chain, you know. That's what it starts off. When you have a problem, that's how it's handled. There's different situations that happen in the union up there. I'm going to tell you a few. Like, for instance, with me starting off, I just came off with a broken ankle. I happened on the job, right? You got little sneaky people running around saying, nah, he didn't break his ankle on the job. He's supposed to be playing basketball. Fine, right? I'm tall. I did basketball. Fine. No, it didn't happen after I broke it on the job, right? I called help. The first 10 days you're supposed to collect your money. No, they didn't send my money back. I called them up. But, what's the problem here? I need some money. And now for 10 days I'm supposed to get my money. So, they take their time still. Another week went by. Take care of it. Right? I contacted my union. I was grievous because they're not giving me my money. I need some money. Right? They got on the case. My money. Then you go to merit raises, right? You guys get merit raises?
We're supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, once upon a time we did, but I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah.
We get a review, but not fair.
You get out, you know, you take 116%, you're supposed to get a merit raise. You take over 103%, you're supposed to get it. 99% of the time you will get it, unless something happens, you know, maybe some people up there now don't work, you know, come in, you know, situations where they don't come to work, they don't deserve a merit raise, they still have a higher rate, still fight for them, right?
That's from when
You're going to
supposed to start in fall.
What? Initiative, but now what he said was a merit range, like the one we used to get, like after 6 months you go in to have a review, and you've been doing good, your performance is good, your attendance is good, then you deserve an increase. And that is considered a merit raise.
I had trouble with being with it, but I was going to say, if they don't know when the money will be allowed for them, they can still get back to this.
always
Like
dispute.
they're all.
Always dispute, right? You got the union there, they're going to back you up 100% if you're in the right. No matter what, they're going to back you up. Even if you're in the wrong, they're going to back you up. You want to take it, Father? Fine. But, you know, we'll take it through what, 3 steps?
Merit raises.
Right, 3 steps. All right. So the company's going to be nice to us. Going to give us a bonus today. Go completely through whole quarter without an absentee. Get 1 target. You get an extra day's pay. Fine. Real good, right? Real good. Fine. You know what they do to you? They didn't tell us about if your child gets sick and y'all got kids. You got to take off, go to the hospital with your kids. That's your bonus day right there. They didn't tell you. They didn't tell us anyway about how they subpoenaed the court for something or something like that. You know, they were witness to a crime or something. You lose your bonus day. If they knew this in advance, they knew all these little things like that. They'll take it from you, just like that. I don't consider the bonus day a bonus. Yeah. I went all through a whole quarter. I stayed out Martin Luther King Day. Right? He took my bonus. Get the bonus. Period. I don't need it. Right. Now, what about bumping? You guys have bumping on layoffs? No, you guys, they're not involved with that yet, is it?
They have always said you could bump, you know.
By seniority?
By seniority.
Don't happen like that, right?
No.
The line that we've been getting lately is that seniority don't mean getting,
That's
you know, or out of them.
You get your union in there. Didn't mean a whole lot more than this.
Excuse me.
Right.
Oh, they John.
Now they coming, we got a new supervisor just come from Delco, General Motors. They hired him from General Motors. So he's the first shift supervisor, his name is Quick. So he's making up a list now. Everybody got seniority on certain machines. We'll give the opportunity to go to first shift to bump these people like, if I got 2 years experience on Shankers, we got a guy on first shift on Shankers, got a year and a half. I can bump him if I want to. He's coming up beside here now.
I think that's your right. You've been there now, right? You say your dude, you're supposed to get it, right? That's the way they do it, though. They'll get you any way they can, any kind of way they can, right? What about, have you guys met Rocky? You guys walk around with your chest stuck out? Well, anyway, he's supposed to be the tough guy out there, you know, in Springfield, in Holyoke. And put it like this. He took his brother-in-law off the street now. No, nothing, just right off the street. I threw him on a night job, just like that. When people are on layoff, people have more seniority and everything, right? You and your father kicked them, kicked them in the butt a little bit, but we man in company anyways. He's still working there, but he's not on that night machine. I don't know what he's doing now.
Well, we made him post the job, and they said they could just hire him off the street as summer help, and they put him on a grade 6, which is a good paying job. And we had a lot of people who'd run a night in the past and been laid off, and they said, hey, post that job and let me bid on it. And we finally made him post the job, and when they posted on it, the guy who's been a night man for a few years before bid on it, and they finally gave him the job, and then they put him on the job, and 3 weeks later says, oh, we forgot to tell you we're going to cut your pay 95 cents an hour. So he had to file another grievance, and we went back and said, hey, if you're going to try to cut his pay, you should have told him that before you put him on the job. He's on the job now, you put his pay back to where it was, and they gave him his pay back too. But the harassment's still going on. They're still giving that guy a hard time. And just because you got a union doesn't mean your problems are over, believe me.
Yeah, that's why it's real bad. Especially from the new workers that come in now off the street. They hire men, and they don't really post the job until they know the person who they're going to. They already know, it was a pay grade 5 position open, I believe, for, what Jerry is, imprinter. No, not imprinter,
Silk screen.
No, not, yes, silk screen.
Well, that's a pay grade 4.
A pay grade 4.
Yeah.
And this guy, I think he's been there he had been there maybe about a month. He's working on 3rd, and he's just over there because they didn't have anywhere else to put him, just to help along, When they did post the job, he got it. Because they say he had experience and nobody else had experience,
But they still train these people, they still cross-train these people.
They wouldn't interview this guy.
And I look around these guys, they
He already knew, he came first
train no guy.
He quit his other job. He was working at Pieces Electronics. He quit his other job. They went down there and interviewed him. 2 of our group leaders. They went and interviewed him, told him that we have a silk screen job and we need somebody with experience. He's got 5 years experience in silk screen. They brought him in there as pay grade 9 as a storekeeper. As a storekeeper, put him back in the stores area, just giving him something to do. Then they up and bid the job, knowing all the time they're going to give him the job. And everybody signs up for the job, and they're interviewed, and then we're all given these little slips that tell us to go to junior college, that they're offering a silk screening class, and that when we take it, then we can come back and bid on the job. But yet still, then they hire this guy, and give him this pay grade 4, and he's only been there 2 months, and he's pay grade 4. And they got some other forwards that they hired off the street that are pay grade 4.
Then because that they're not even offering that. What?
Can we get you all to come up here forward a little more so we can kind of record the voices a little bit? It'll be a little bit more helpful. And then you can hear what, too, a little better away from that air conditioner. I appreciate it. Thanks, Paul.
Do we have any heat seal operators here? Yeah. Oh, yeah? How much money you make? Now wait a minute, I'm not going to ask you guys that. I make $8.24. I'm a heat seal operator.
Are you of the whole department?
Right. And there's 6 years.
Okay, what's the difference in the heat seal operator and heat seal setup?
There are a lot of different places.
Okay, so the setup man is sort of like takes care of the machine and
Our setup men don't do what you do.
Oh, he don't?
Our group leader, our setup men do what you do, and somebody else do what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a whole different ball of wax. Well, I guess you're considered like our ladies are the one that runs the turntable, that run the Hoover, that run the molders, and the riveters, and whatever have that in the area.
Right. Ladies really, from what I hear, they do y'all dirty. There's no excuse for it. Like I said, I'm just off about it. There's no excuse.
You know, when I first went to work there, I went to work on the turntable, and I watched Maurice set up the transaction change.
Right.
And I figured I can do this, you know, so I brought it up for the engineer. And I said, why can't the ladies that run the turntable change it up and set it up themselves? Well, they had to pay more money. They had to go to a different.
It's reached judge. That's it. There's no excuse for it either. You guys need a union, I'm telling you right now.
No, this is true, because, like on the machine, like I'm working on now, okay, we have an operator out sick and they're running crazy schedules, so they want the people, helpers, to do the operator's job, maybe about 3 days a week, you know. They have one operator there, and one operator really is supposed to run 2 people. So, okay, like on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you know, everything go haywire because the helper have to run the machine, but they don't want to give you no money for it. But the minute something go wrong, then they really jump down the helper's throat. You know, it don't even be our fault, really, you know, something like that. But, you know, one time they was giving us some money for it. Not just time.
See what they got? They got 2 people, and they got them side by side of each other. Okay, at one time they went on 7 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week shift. They had enough operators. Okay, but see what they did was they got a couple of operators, trained them to be operators, and then they got these guys working at these job slots, and they never paid. They never increased their pay. They were still making money the same. Like they promoted them pay grade 5, and they were making like pay grade 6 and 7 pay. That they were their old pay when they were working. A couple of guys came from the warehouse, and that added to the operators that we had. So one guy left and went back, and on the 3-shift operations around the clock, they put them in a bind. Then they went on the 7-day thing. So they devised a schedule where they got now they only have 3 or 4 operators, and they break up those 4 operators, and they still work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But usually on 2 days you got 2 operators that are off, and then 2 are working, and then you got the other 2 working, and the other 2 are off, and works it out so that each one of them will get 2 days off. The 4 operators will work around the clock, but each one of them will get their 2 days off, and it's all screwed up. And see what they're doing is they'll always have one operator. But they take the older ladies, the ladies that's been on the machine all the time, that can go and fly, splice, and roll, and the ladies that just been tearing off and picking the books out, they have them operating, pulling the die out, and all that kind of stuff. And when they're only a pay grade 9, and then they're doing pay grade 5 work, that they're operating the machines, they got to fill out the reports, they got to correct a problem, move boards and all that kind of junk, and they're not getting paid for it, and it's not right. And they want them to run in there right when the shift starts, and go to work and start running the machine, and straighten out the jam up, straighten out problems, whatever's running it. Just run the machine. You know, when you got a guy that's sitting over here that's a pay grade 5, that's making $2 or $3 an hour more than she is, but she's supposed to go over there and lift those heavy rolls and move them. And we done had two occurrences where ladies hurt their back over there moving rolls and stuff.
Yeah. What about the insurance?
What is it?
See, everything, you guys will say, you know, y'all telling me things, yeah, everything you told me so far, that's more reason to get the union in there. It'll take a lot of people, though. I'm going to go on RF. You ever work on a machine? You ever have to use that? I used to be working over there, and the lady working over here on another machine, turntable. I would get zapped over there from her machine. From not being grounded up. That RF is bad for you. The guy walked through the daggone apartment, he had a light bulb in his hand. One of the big long fluorescent lights, the damn thing lit up in his hand. He walked. You know.
Well, that's true, because we got something that's on the machine right now. And the RF frequency that we generate, we got a Hoover, we got a tube, You got 2 molars, 2 turntables, and 2 keepers. And you can imagine that's a whole lot of RF. Because you can tell the ladies have the radio, battery powered radio, and you can bring the most expensive radio you can get in there. And sometimes it will, and then, you know, and it does something to it, you know. And we got light bulbs that are hanging on the machine, fluorescent lights. They're not plugged up or anything. But when the die comes down and the book seals, guess what happens? The light lights up. You know. Because I freak some people out, you know, they ask me, say, how do you plug that light up? I say, you see the wires on that light? And the light's not plugged up, you know. It's got RF frequency.
Damn right. That's bad for you, too, especially pregnant ladies. You know, they're not supposed to be in that shop.
What about just a normal person working on a machine?
That's bad for you. They're proving it's bad for you.
Tell them about 5 things that they found out that it covers.
We finally forced the company to go out and hire an outside expert to come in and test their machine. This is the company's own report, which they hid from us for 2.5 months. So they were sitting on it from March 1st until May 15th of this year. This is their own expert is saying it says effects of exposure to RF energy. RF energy, when absorbed in sufficient amounts, may produce adverse heat effects, including cell damage. The damage results in the heating of body tissue. Because of a relatively low heat removal capability, the lens of the eye appears to be the most susceptible tissue to RF energy heating. The formation of cataracts after exposure to high level of RF energy have been reported. So that's one of the first things you got to concern about, is it affecting your eyes. Absorption of RF energy may also result in non-thermal effects. Studies of the non-thermal effects of exposure to RF energy are being conducted by many researchers. Non-thermal effects identified in animal studies include microscopic changes in the eye, changes in the central nervous system, the immune system, which is what helps to fight infection, and alterations in the neuroendocrine function. I don't know what that means. Researchers have also noted behavioral changes in test animals exposed to RF energy. And they also go on to talk about there's reasons to believe that it affects the fetus if the woman's pregnant. And one of the things we convinced the company to do, I'm going to leave all this stuff with Maurice, but another thing we convinced the company is any woman who's pregnant, thinks she's pregnant, or is really even thinking about getting pregnant, should immediately request a transfer away from those RF machines. And I'm not just talking about the operator of the RF machine. I'm saying, like, if you're a riveter and you're working within 50 feet of those machines, you should ask for a transfer out of that department. And I got stuff, other reports here I'll give to Maurice from the federal government, too. They're saying the same thing. And another thing with this RF you got to worry about is that nobody really knows how bad it is for you. They're doing all these studies now, and every time they do a study, they find out another thing about it's bad for you. The standard used to be, without going into detail, a level of 10 was the acceptable exposure level. They recently reduced the exposure level to 1 1/4, which is 1/8 as much. They used to say, oh, if it's under 10, it's safe. Now they're saying 1/8 of that level is safe. Who's to say 5 years from now they're not going to come back and say even that level is too high? A guy who was an electrician who was an expert in RF used to run an X-ray machine, like a dental X-ray machine or something like that. And they used to be, they'd say, oh, you don't have to worry about X-rays. And then the standard of acceptable exposure to X-rays is now 1/100 of what it was when he used to run an X-ray machine. We think the same thing's going to happen with this RF.
No questions?
This is all, we're going to leave all this here.
All right, now we getting down to the officers like Warren. We have Eddie Green.
Me. That's right, I remember my own name sometimes. So don't worry about it.
We get a president now. Like before, we had a president's name. I'm not gonna mention no name, but we call him Tricky Dick, right?
We did.
Yeah. Anyways, the guy was bad. He would meet with the company behind the back, things like that. You know, that's not right. Everybody votes. A decision is to be made. The body votes on it. Everybody votes on it. It's supposed to be that way. That's the way it's supposed to be all the time. Anyway, this guy was beat behind the back. We got him out of there. We bowled him right the hell out of there next time, right? And I think he was cheating. You know, we got him last time. I caught him in the back room, but I was new there and I didn't know no better. So anyway, we got Warren in there. He's a fighter. He's a scrap player. No doubt about it. From the very first time I met him, I knew this. Chief Stewart when I first came there. Anyways, bad officers in there, you get them out of there. Second. You know, term is up only 2 years for us. They out of there. Now, the silk screeners. Yeah, silk screeners.
That's something new to us.
Oh, yeah?
8 months, 12 months.
Well, do you believe that the silk screeners down here make more money than the silk screeners up there?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to tell you. Damn right. I'm telling you. Yeah.
The photographer is going to be a pay grade 1. And you believe that?
I'm going to tell you.
Photographers up there will be making, I guess, they'd be on the same lines as your lithographers and your plate makers, right?
That's a whole other division.
Yeah. The thing is, though, you got to remember, the company is there. They're going to be there. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here right now. The company is there. The company's been up there in Holyoke for over 100 years. They're going to be there. They're just trying to fight, knock heads, right? The union would be good for y'all, everybody, right? Let's get all the people working together. Johnny, Maurice, Cedric, Tony, all you guys, you had this meeting right now. Somebody find that out, right? You guys are really backbone right now. If union don't come in there, they're gonna try to get rid of the troublemakers. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Right? That's why you guys got to get together. Everybody got to get together. It's wrong what they're doing. Right? Ray Charles can see it. It's wrong. Everybody knows. It's wrong. Hell, from what I hear from what he's telling me, this whole damn area. Yeah. Y'all getting treated wrong.
Will we have any events against them firing the lady in the office if they know that we attended the meeting last year?
Absolutely, that's what the international is here for.
That's what you signed that blue card.
That's why you signed that little blue card.
That's proof.
That's why you also, your employer received a letter from me stating that he interferes or reverses or harasses or puts any pressure on you as your right to self-organize, that we will take action against it. Okay? So exercise your right. This is the best time. This is the greatest time of your life right now.
Last week they need you guys. Right?
Joe, when they got the letter, they called it a little meeting. Tom Lynch. Tom had his shirt on that had a pocket up there.
Yeah, he told me that.
He walked around all day long with the card.
With the card in his pocket.
He said he wasn't gonna do anything, but he kept the P400s running. He said he didn't even go on break. He just had it running. It just ran constantly because he knows he can make a run like that. And he just had to run and people come over and talk to him, all day long. And he just right in their face,
What you have to remember here, all of you, is you have the company on the run. You're in the driver's seat. Now, don't let them move that on you, okay? You psychologically have the jump on them. They don't know what way to go. If you've done something, you've shocked them. You're doing something for yourself that they just quite don't know how to handle it, because they've been pulling the wool over your eyes all this time. So exercise your right. Be smart about what you're doing. You know what your goal is. Stick with it. Because this is going to be the only time in a lifetime you're going to have anything to do for yourself and your own family. You want to live in dignity and respect and enjoy the years after retirement. This is the groundwork that you're laying down now. Enjoy the finer fruits in life like I am, and the rest of us are.
A lot of us know this, and a lot of people that so far, I'm talking just maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I'm gonna vote yes, I'm gonna tell this person, tell that person. And then they come and tell me yesterday or day before, they say, I'm not gonna vote at all, I'm just gonna leave it alone. If y'all get it, good. If you don't, feel good, you're gonna get fired, they're gonna close the plant.
That's the purpose of an organizing committee. We need to educate these people. We need to tell them why we're doing what we're doing. We're not just doing it just for sake of talk union. We have a goal and a purpose in this thing that we're doing. And that's what we've got to sell. You're not talking about what's going to happen to you today, tomorrow. You want to build your foundation and your future 10 years from now. As you get older, you need that job protection. Because as you get older, you don't quite produce as fast as you used to. You need that production. You want to be able to go in that plant every day after that and know you have a job and the union's going to fight for you. Because you put a lot of sweat in that place. I want to pound one other thing on this. I don't mean to put anything. You're devoting a lot of your life to this plant. A lot of your time and sweat is done in there. Don't let them take that away from you. They can't operate without you. I don't care if they had the most beautiful modern technique plant in the world. It takes you to produce the final outcome. Don't sell yourself short, okay? Just remember them things. That's what we have to sell to the other workers. Start using these. You know, we got to tell them, start using our thinking cap.
Move to Clara.
They're here today. They're on the next shift.
I heard there was some customers. They're like her. She's next. Anyways, I got something good. Just showing up here, right? Got a good start. You got a real good start now. I hope to see you through it. If I can help, I'll be more than happy to. They send me down here 100 times. I'll come. You know? I want you to get through. I can't stand it. It's sickening what's happening.
They don't want it to happen, the company, because they know they messed up. And they think they just going to smooth the
Trying
thing
to
over.
be slick, you know?
Yeah, because Linda Swanson told me that she knew you guys were coming down. She told me, she even had the nerve to tell me that I know they're coming down with the tape. And you know, once you guys see the tape, then we're going to see what's going to happen, you know, or how do people feel, you know. How do you feel? You know, I said, well, I feel like I've been screwed so much until I should just walk in the door with a jar of Vaseline. I told her just like that, you know. And she said, well, why do you feel that way? And then when she said, why do you feel that way? When I got through that time, it was 45 minutes after she started talking to me. So she didn't want to give me that time.
And the same token, they also serve them ice cream too.
Yeah, they serve them ice cream.
So that's
They got their ice
the
cream,
big
and
47.
Ron Feinstein served them ice cream. They said Joe down here to serve us ice cream. It's real low. But the president of the company, Ron Feinstein, served them ice cream.
They're going to throw a party. They'll probably throw a party if you guys don't vote the union.
Oh, check this out. I was intending to tell you this last night. Yesterday, the plant manager came up to me and he says, hi, fella. How you doing? He said, what you got on your mind? I said, nothing. What you got on your mind? He said, I think you should be checking the bulletin board out the next couple of days. Might be something on there that interests you. Just like that, you know. And I go, okay, whatever you say, you know, whatever you say, that's fine with me, you know. Because what they're doing is, they're trying to get some people that they feel like might be influential, and they're trying to pacify them, you know, and soften them up. I mean, you know, I could do anything except for go and chop my whole head off right now, and I don't think they do anything about it because they don't want, that the last thing they want to do right now is further piss anybody off, you know. And but see, they're gradually doing it, and they don't even know it. You know, they're gradually doing it. Every day you go in there, it's something that's not right, and they're gradually doing it. You know, they go and Linda Swanson comes down here and says, we know we're working the people too hard. We know they're dissatisfied about the 7 days a week. We know we more work on Sunday. And that was just last weekend, and they worked that last Sunday. Now they're coming up with just swing shifts.
That's soft.
I don't want to drag this out, so we want to move along.
Yeah, it's not closing, baby.
We're going to show this tape. John, thanks a lot.
Take a start back again.
Let me tell you one more thing. Let me tell you one more thing.
As effective today. So we're Saturday, that's time to have.
And if you I love it.
Sure they are, because they're scared.
Oh, boy, we got it now.
A guy asked a question about, well, okay, 7:15 is going on the swing shift. Does that mean when I work Sunday, I'll be getting paid double time? And I don't know his name, from Diacon, on first with plant medicine.
With Malacca.
Yeah, okay, he said, oh, I don't think we're gonna do the swing shift. That was just a suggestion. We're trying to see, you know.
They're trying to pacify them. They're trying to give us something back. Tony, that's what we were talking about last night. They took all this away from us. Now they want to try to give it back to us. But that ain't no good. If we can get the people to see, it still ain't no good. Because what rule do we have? What do we have in writing saying that they won't take it back?
That's right.
That's the trick.
That's what I'm saying. You know,
They will take it back.
You know, they will take it back. They're just doing this now, you know, because Linda Swanson's running around there talking to everybody that she can, and she's getting all this feedback, and she's writing it down. You know, we can do these certain things to make everybody happy, and then once we get everybody happy and get this union out of the way, then we go back, bullshit as usual.
Maybe what you ought to start doing there is all you go down and buy some pacifiers.
And walk around with it. So what's the pacifier for? You know, that's what y'all doing.
That's what we might do that. That might be a good thing to do. Everybody walk around with pacifiers and, hey man, this is what you're doing to us. You're pacifying us.
I got my last statement is this. They are the way of doing things, right? There's nothing to go in there and just punching them about it, not like that. But more you than them. Use your minds to rip them apart. Easy.
There you go.
Right, good. No, we'll speed you along, and then we'll speed that thing along, because we only got an hour now. Okay.
This is Diane Brady. Diane's,
I'm the pain in the ass. From the metal division, management does not like me, I'm the first to admit it, and I'm damn proud of it. I don't care what management thinks of me. I really don't. It doesn't faze me in the least. My father told me one time that I got a mouth that would embarrass a sailor. And he's right. I mean, I can swear my full head off. I have called my foreman a fornicating anus, but I used the other word. And got away with it. I could have been fired for that, but I got away with it because it's the truth. Linda Swanson. Not like me. Although she'll compliment me until there's no tomorrow. She says I'm intelligent and bright, and why am I working at the plant? I should have been a lawyer. I said, Linda, you'll do anything to get rid of me, won't you? I said, but I'm here, and I'm here to stay. My job is protecting the people as a steward now, and I take care of second shift as the chief steward, fill in for the chief stewards when they're out sick. I've had 29 grievances that I filed myself. Some of them have gone to third. I've won all but one. Some of them have included loss of time and money, disciplinary action. Everything that company's trying to do to screw over the people in the metals division, I rammed it right back down their throats. And smiled the whole time. That's why management does not like me. Linda Swanson will try to con you into thinking that she is really concerned about what happens to you. She'll ask you about your sickly mother, or how's your baby doing, or how are things going at home. She'll try to let you think that she's really genuinely concerned about it. And all while this hand is patting you on the head and saying things will be better, the other one's holding the dagger and she's going to stab you in the back. She's tried it with me, and it hasn't worked. So when it comes to Linda Swanson, everything she says, take it with a grain of salt.
She's a professional.
I'm forever imitating her because she goes, I hear what you're saying. If I had a dime for every time that woman said it, I probably wouldn't have to work at National anymore. But I'm here to tell you basically about the women who work at the National up in Holyoke. And the majority of them in my division are grade 10s, 9s, and 8s. The pay range is anywhere from 6 to, I believe, it's a little over $9 an hour. I myself am a grade 9 racker. I do what is primarily a man's job. The company said there was no way I could do this because I lift almost 4 tons a day at about the rate of 47 pounds every 30 seconds. The company said, there's no way you can do that, Diane. And I said, bullshit. And I've been doing this job now for about 4 years. When I first started doing that job, I was making only about $5 an hour. And last night, on this tape too, I said it was about 3 years. Well, I was wrong. It only took me 2 years. Because you people were talking about merit raises before. I'll tell you what I did. I went into my foreman and I told him that I had better get at least a 30-cent merit raise, or all holy hell was going to break loose. I got a 30-cent merit raise. Management tries to intimidate and harass you, and I give it right back to them. Politely, tactfully, and I use that little white book. That's my Bible, that contract. That's what I use. My biggest job and my biggest concern, as is Warren's, is health and safety. My division has all these punch presses that Warren spoke to you about before. People are getting their hands caught in it. We work with raw steel. We make your notebook rings. We make the loose leaf ones. We make all kinds of stuff. It's unbelievable the things that we make. And there were cuts, bumps, bruises, rashes. We work with nickel and its compounds. The state of Massachusetts recently recognized nickel and its compounds as being a cancer-causing agent. And we're waiting to see what the company is going to do about all of us that are exposed to it and plating it. Because of the right to know law that we have in Massachusetts, we now know what we're working with and what it can do to us. Before we didn't, and you know damn well management wasn't going to tell you. Personally, I have a big problem with the women who work in my division because a lot of times in the past they sat back and let management use them as a doormat. So what the union can do and has done is rather than dragging somebody into a situation that they really don't want to get into, I fight for them. I say, you don't have to say nothing. Let me do all the talking. And as soon as Linda Swanson hears my name, she says, good Lord, give Diane what she wants and shut her up. That's management's attitude. Give Diane whatever it is she wants and shut her up. So far, I'm doing pretty good. We have pregnant women in the plating room, and I've had them transferred. There's nothing really in the contract that says we have to move this person once they get pregnant. And I said, oh yes, yes there is. It's Article 14A in our contract, and it says the company agrees to provide a healthy and safe workplace. And that plating room is no place for any pregnant woman to be. Temperature that it is outside here today, and the heat and humidity I work in that year-round, indoors. So this heat and humidity doesn't bother me the way poor Warren and poor John go, I work in this 8 hours a day in the summer, which is probably why I'm so damn skinny. Lord knows I try to put on weight, but it don't work. So we get them out of there. And we keep them out of there if it's all possible until after their baby's born. And if they want to go back to that plating room, fine. And if they don't have to. They don't have to. I wanted to give you a few examples of what the company has tried to do to people in regards to their medical problems. And what I did to it, we spoke about some of these last night, just as some ha-has. But I have an awful lot of Puerto Rican people in my division. My Spanish is very limited. I know the swears. An awful lot of them. I know every English one and most of the Spanish ones. But management up there has a tendency of treating them as if they're deaf and dumb. And we had a Puerto Rican woman who broke out in a rash on her arms that looked like raw hamburger. That's how bad her arms were. And when she went over to the medical department said that it was either scabies, poison ivy, or she must be allergic to dish detergent. They even went so far as to say that maybe she ought to start taking a bath more often. Well, she told me this, and needless to say, I was pissed. And once I get pissed, I don't stop. I don't shut up either. I made an appointment for this woman with one of the dermatologists in the area that I knew of, and I knew he was damn good at his job. He kept her out of work for 2 weeks, prescribed medication. Meantime, the company was insisting that this did not happen on the job. This was not work-related. We brought that woman back to work for 1 day. But the doctor's okay. Within 4 hours, her arms looked as bad as they had in the beginning, thereby proving that it was work-related. I got that woman over $700 in back wages and all the medical bills paid, and a permanent transfer out of the plating room. All these things management didn't want to do. Management said, we don't have to do this. This is what yes, you do. Article 14A. And the contract agreement that says they're going to treat all of us with dignity and respect. Another example was a woman in my particular department, the plating room, who had suffered chemical burns on her feet from a puddle on the floor. She was standing in it. She didn't have a choice of whether to stand in it or not, other than throw cardboard boxes, and so you're standing on a mountain about this big, and you could very well trip, break your neck. But anyway, get this, the medical department said it was athlete's foot. They tried to send this woman back to work. When I saw her come walking through the department, I said, that's it. We went to the foreman and we filed a grievance over a violation of Article 14A in the contract agreement, and my boyfriend and I brought the woman up to the Holyoke Hospital, where her feet were bandaged, put medication on. She was given medication to take home. She was given shots, and we had to pick up a prescription for her to take while she was out. Now, because the grievances were filed immediately, because management knew that, hey, I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking this shit, that woman did not lose a penny. She got her comp right away. In this video that you're going to see, you're going to meet my boyfriend. And this is probably what really got my goat, was the way the company treated him. He suffered an injury on the job from lifting heavy baskets, and his shoulder would pop out and pop back in. You know what it sounds like when you crack your knuckles? I can't stand that, but that's what his shoulder sounds like. You could hear it halfway across the room. Well, he had surgery done, and he went back to work about 7 months later to try a very light-duty job. He ended up re-injuring himself. Barbara McNiff turned around and said, couldn't possibly have happened that way. She stopped his comp. From October of last year until January this year, when he returned to work, he had no money coming in at all. I supported him and my house. Through the union and the union's lawyer, we went to court. And you're going to see in the tape. He got his check. He got it just this past Monday. And they still owe him money. They still owe him for that scar. But the nice thing about it is, sometimes you'll see the foremen dishing stuff out at you and say, boy, if I had a baseball bat, I'd whoop that man's brains. There's other ways of doing it. In 1985, I had a coworker run over a tank in the plating room, and at that time, the company was going crazy, suspending people for anything that fell on the floor. Even if you knocked your soda over, they'd be there, what's that? And they're ready to throw you right out. So I had a worker get a 4-hour suspension and a verbal warning for starting before the start of his shift and for making the mess on the floor. Well, I agreed with it. And I won solely on the principle that nobody had ever bothered to let this guy know and show me it in writing. You show me it in black and white. It says this man is not supposed to start before the start of the shift, and that this man is going to be suspended if he spills anything on the floor. They couldn't show me anything. They couldn't show me anything. I got his suspension removed, I got his verbal removed, and I got him his 4 hours back pay. 2 days later, the first shift foreman overflowed the very same tank, and management appeared ready to overlook it, and this is what they called it. They said it was an act of God. God in his heaven had nothing better to do than to come down in that plating room, turn that tank on, and forget about it so it run all over the floor. Well, I spoke to Warren about this, and Warren said, Diane, just wait to see what happens. Well, General Foreman Gulan Kazi was down here earlier this week, a little Indian fellow. I don't know if you met him or not. Well, we have names for him, but we won't mention him in public. Anyway, Gulan said that they weren't quite sure what they were going to do, but they were going to do something. And much to Warren's surprise, I suppose, I came right out and I said that unless something significant was done to that foreman, as they had tried to do to other people in the past, I said I would file grievances that discriminatory practices were being conducted by the company, in that a union member is getting suspended and a foreman's going to get away with it. Punished or pardoned. Well, because I opened up my big mouth, as I usually do, that foreman is now on the second shift. He hates it. He all people in my division through some hell. Now, just the other day, I had a grievance with this man because he's harassing the hell out of a woman on the second shift. He pointed his finger dead in my face and said, Diane, I'm sick of you harassing me. I said, boy, dose of your own medicine is bitter, ain't it? Now that's going to go on through the grievance procedure to third step. That man's job at Dennison National as a foreman is hanging by a thin thread. My ultimate goal is to get him out of there. And he will not be the first foreman I've gotten rid of. My first year at National, I was accused of stealing Holyoke Hospital stationery and writing my own doctor's notes so that I could take time off for work. Because at the time, I had a roommate who worked there in the central supply, and she was able to get anything I wanted if I wanted it. Bandages, unit bedpans, although I had no use for them. But she could get me anything I wanted. And this foreman had the nerve to say that I was writing out my own doctor's notes. So when I started complaining about it to upper management, that this man was calling me a thief, a liar, and a forger, and all this, upper management said, Diane, don't rock the boat. I said, rock the boat? I'll sink the whole damn ship. Within 2 weeks, that foreman was gone. 2 weeks, that foreman was gone. Now, this woman, Barbara McNiff, who was the head of the medical department, I speak in the past tense, is the one who created all the problems for my boyfriend and several other people with their medical problems, including Brother John there. You know who doesn't work for National anymore? Barbara McNiff. So you see, not only can the union help you out as far as your wages and your benefits go, but the union can make damn sure that you're treated with dignity and respect. So, I'm more than willing to help any way I can. You know, even if it's going to curl old Warren's hair, my mouth is still going to be shooting off. They say I'm going to go into my grave with my mouth going, and I believe it. And as long as I continue, if my mouth is going like this, as long as it's helping somebody else, then I don't think the good Lord's going to have any complaints. So I wish y'all all the luck in the world. Really, I do. If there's anything I can do to help, feel free to ask.